Hello everyone, welcome back to the 120th. Today we're talking about focusing screens, specifically the focusing screen on my Bronica S2A, which I've talked about before, but what I have learnt over the last 4 months applies to all focusing screens. So any SLR or TLR that has ground glass, and most of your SLRs, even your 35mm SLRs, will have ground glass in them at the bottom end of the prism. So it does apply to all of them. But basically, the story starts that I wasn't 100% happy with the focusing on my Bronica S2A. And so I made a plan to get a new focusing screen for it and replace the foam that I didn't replace the first time round underneath the mirror. So I ordered a new focusing screen that should be brighter and better performing from the wonderful Rick Oleson over in the US. And while that was on its way, I took this out for this focusing screen's last outing. So we'll start with that.
Morning everyone. Today we are with my good friend Andy from the Two Chaps YouTube channel, Affordable Car Reviews. We are driving over the Severn River in his wonderful 1972 midget.
Correct.
Margot. And Andy has very kindly agreed to lend me his time this morning to take some photos of his car and him. This will be the last shoot with the existing focusing screen for the S2A, and it'll be interesting to see. I'll be able to now do a clear before and after, because I know exactly when I'm doing that thing. So. This is nice enough. Just do a couple of snaps here. Right then, Andy, can you wind this down? Does that work? Does that happen? Is that a thing? I would quite like. Yes, exactly. This is the time, Andy. Yeah. It's the moment we've all been waiting for. Yeah, let's just pop your clothes on the stool. Just hold that. That's beautiful. Truly, you know. Oh, that's lovely, Andy. Yes, just hold that for me.
So, I wasn't 100% happy with the focusing in that. Some of them were a little bit off. I showed you probably the best of the bunch. Then, in the post, arrived the new focusing screen from Rick Oleson. So he now makes his focusing screens, I don't 100% know how he makes them, but they are plastic. Rather than glass, and they're 2-in-1. So you've got the Fresnel on one side and you've got the ground glass on the other side. So just to explain a bit how these things work, the Fresnel is as you can hear, a bit like the top of a hologram. It's a load of concentric circles which spreads the light to try and make sure that the light gets all the way out to the corners and you don't end up with sort of a hot spot in the middle. The Bronica has a Fresnel in it. It's a separate piece, but this is what it looks like. So we have two pieces in a standard Bronica S2 and S2A. Fresnel, ground glass, and like I say, Rick Oleson has created this sort of double-sided thing where you've got Fresnel on one side, ground glass on the other side. Essentially, the image comes through here, hits the mirror, comes up. When it reaches the ground glass, it is forced to form an image, if you see what I mean. So the light can't pass clean through there, so an image is formed on the ground glass. It's essential that the distance between the back of the lens and the ground glass via the mirror. So you've got a right angle, but if you laid it out flat, then that distance between the back of the lens and the ground glass must be exactly the same as the distance between the back of the lens and the film plane when the mirror is raised or lowered in the case of the S2A. So they must be the same in order for an accurate representation of focus to appear on the ground glass. So I got the screen, the new focusing screen from Rick Oleson, and I installed it. I replaced the foam behind the mirror because I hadn't done that before, so I went in, I got in there, I scraped it all out, did the business. I didn't replace the foam under the ground glass, or holding the ground glass down, because I only did that 6 months ago. Anyway, I had a commercial shoot a few days after I finished that, and I took the S2A out again. And here are the results. Now, that commercial shoot, I was shooting on the Bronica as a bit of an afterthought. You know, it was just an extra for them. They weren't really paying for it, so I was rushing it. I was trying to just rattle off a few shots. So I initially blamed the dodgy focusing on that. So now, I thought I'd followed the instructions for installing the Rick Oleson screen. So Rick recommends that you install Fresnel up, which is the opposite of what of how this works. This one is Fresnel down, or Fresnel first and then ground glass. So anyway, I flipped it over, reinstalled, and then I took it out for a proper test run to see how things were going to work. And here's how that went. Right then, I'm out with the Bronica S2A. I've come all the way to Chepstow, which I didn't really intend for this to happen, but is actually where I did the last shoot before I changed the screen. And the purpose of today's shoot is to test this screen and see if it works. Right then, this is quite nice here. Take a look. $16. All right. Let's go with 125 F11 on this one. It's telling me it's back a fraction from infinity, just a tiny bit. I don't know now. I'm going to do 2 here, because this really is a beautiful shot. I'm going to do one at what would be infinity all the way. And then I'm going to do one, so this is frame 6. So here we go, 3, 2, 1. And then we'll do one, so that's all the way to infinity. Then we'll do one that is a fraction back from infinity. This is what the screen thinks it should be. This is frame 7. So 6 and 7 will be telling. That last one with the river, that should have been an infinity focus, but according to the focusing screen, going to the end of the focus was taking it out of focus. All I really want to know is whether or not that screen is focusing true, and those 2 frames that we shot there should tell us that. So it'll be interesting to see how they come out. So problems persist. The opposite problem now. It's now the camera was now overshooting infinity, so it was focusing on infinity and then going past it. But I did those 2 shots. I did one at what the focusing screen was telling me was in focus, and I did one going all the way to the end of the lens, which is what it says here is an infinity focus, and this was right and this was wrong. What we learned is that this screen is just over 1 millimeter thick. It's about 1.2 millimeters thick. It has the Fresnel on one side and a matte surface on the other. All that happens when you turn it over is that you shift the position of the matte surface, and otherwise the point of focus, you shift it by 1.1 millimeter up or down. And that, the movement of this screen by just over a millimeter, makes the difference between the essentially not being able to reach infinity and overshooting infinity. So in theory, that 1 millimeter shift in the focusing screen makes a difference of probably 30, 40, 50, 60 meters in the real world. And that's how far your focus could be out if your screen is a millimeter out. And that for me is fascinating. That these cameras that were being built in the 60s and 70s, the tolerances are so small. Now that I'm aware of the tolerances and how accurate they have to be, it's just mind-blowing. Anyway, long story short, here's what happened next. I put the original S2A focusing screen back in. And I tested it again. This time I didn't run a roll of film through it. I didn't waste another one. But I took the Bronica out and I just went to infinity. And once again, when the Bronica original focusing screen was installed correctly, this was not reaching infinity again. So the only option I had, I just replaced the foam under the mirror. The only thing left I could think of to do was replace the foam around the waist level finder again. I did that, replaced that foam again, and then took it out to test it again.
Right then, so this is the final test, the new focusing screen. I've got my very good friend Tom here with me, who has kindly agreed to let me take some photos of him rather than taking photos of trees. And I'm going to really put the Bronica through its paces, and I'm going to give it every chance to be as sharp as possible. I'm going to put it on a tripod, so let's go f4, 250, and let's see what we got. Right, here we go. Straight down the lens, please. 3, 2, 1. Thank you very much. And you may stand. Let's go try something different. Right then. I quite like that. Yeah, see if you can get in there and then kind of push your way back through. You all right with that? Yep. So, right, come forward from where you are there. And you see this little sort of, there's a couple of thin twigs. You can try and get those out of the way. That's it. And then push your face through that little gap there. That'll do. Yeah. How's that for you? That's perfect. That's my shot. Let me just double check that focus quickly. Right, so straight down the lens, please, mate. Oh, the camera's fallen over. Right. I don't know when this fell over, but essentially I just did that photo. Right, then we're gonna do one, just a very plain and simple Tom in a field. Give me the scarecrow then. Nice, thank you. All right, that is 9 frames. Should we wander over to the house over there? Yeah. So, okay, so if you can just like rest your forehead as if you're sort of going 3, 2, 1. Thank you. Okay, you may now move. Just a bit more of that kind of close-up type stuff, I think. Right, we're trying some more pretentious twaddle. Now, I actually am going to ask you to touch the ice to your kind of nose and get as close as you can. Ready? Yep. Here we go. Got it? 3, 2, 1. Okay.
Still very pretentious.
Yes. And a bit weird. Right, that's it. That's 12 frames. Tom, thank you so much, mate. Really appreciate it.
Worries.
Hopefully we'll get some nice stuff out of that. Either we'll get some really nice photos. I was actually happy with some of those. Or the focusing screen will still be fucked and they'll all be shit.
Yes.
Cheers, mate.
It's fixed. So what have we learned? One thing about all cameras, that the tolerances are minuscule. And you need to remember that. That's why, damage, impact damage to a camera can be so catastrophic. Because things need to, if you knock things out of alignment by the tiniest of fractions, then your camera becomes essentially difficult to use or unusable. I'm undoubtedly going to get abuse from some people saying, oh, why is sharp focus so important to you? It's not necessarily. I'm not obsessed with sharp focus in every image, and I think that slightly softer focus has a place, and what I'm obsessed with is control. If this is not showing an accurate representation of focus, then it's out of my control. I can't, I may want a slightly softer focus in one image, but I don't get a choice over it. It just happens, and I may want a different image to be sharp focus, but I can't, or I can't guarantee it. I just have to take a punt. So that's my motivation, is I want to be in control of these images as much as possible so that I can create images that as I want them to be. So there we go. The S2A is fixed. It's back in business again. I'll be taking it out a fair bit over the next few weeks. Once again, another bit of a niche interest video. But I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you enjoyed the pics. Don't forget to like and subscribe. What's next? What should we do next? Oh yes, GB Kershaw 110. That's it. I have, I believe I have got the shutter working again on it, and that will be the next camera I take out. Never tried one. Looking forward to it. Medium format, 6x6 folder. It's going to be fun. I don't know what I'm going to do, but yeah, do join me for that. It will be thoroughly enjoyable. A little bit less technical, a little bit more out and about, a little bit more fun. Bye.